Good morning, this is Carl from Lingua, and this is part 2 of the discussion on cognates, which I'm taking further by discussing not only cognates which exist between English and Spanish, but as I said in part 1, a discussion of the same type of words which exist in English, Spanish, from English to Italian, and also from Spanish to Italian. Adjectives which in English end in IC, in Spanish and in Italian are formed by the addition of the letter O. But in Spanish, we're only restricted to the double consonant combinations of double N, double C, double R and double L, whereas in Italian, usually any double consonants are permitted to exist. A few examples: economico, atletico, where the TH, which can't exist in either language, is reduced to a single T. Atlantico, drastico, etnico, that's ethnic. Toxico in Spanish, but in Italian the X mutates to a double S. Tossico. We'll find that in one or two other words as we go along. Also, anorexic, anorexico in Spanish, anoressico in Italian. Nouns which in English end in S-I-O-N retain the same spelling in Spanish, other than single consonant combinations which can't exist as double consonant combinations in that language, but in Italian we have the vowel E. A few examples: commission in Spanish, comisión, in Italian, commissione. Versión, versione. Suspension, suspensión, but in Italian not only do we have the vowel E, but the U mutates to the vowel O, which is a common occurrence, as we'll see in just a short while. In Italian, suspension, sospensione. Mission, mission, missione. Expansion, expansión, in Italian, X to S, espansione. Visión, visione. Pasión, passione. Another group, nouns, sometimes adjectives, which in English end in a consonant followed by a T. In Spanish, are formed or translated into Spanish by the addition of an O, and the same applies to Italian, but as already discussed, any U within the word usually mutates to an O, but the consonant C combination changes to a double T. Also, where we have two consonants together, for example, consonant S, the mutation is to either a single S or, in some cases, a double S. Again, a few examples. Abstract, abstracto, but in Italian, BS to one S, CT to double T, and then the additional O. Astratto. Product, producto in Spanish, in Italian, prodotto. U to O, CT to double T. Viaduct, viaducto, viadotto. Conducto, condotto. Ducto, dotto. Tracto, tratto. Pacto, patto. Extracto, but in Italian, X to S, CT to double T, estratto. Nouns which in English end in TION change to CION in Spanish, where that combination of letters is pronounced as tion, but in Italian, due to the th sound being pretty much uncommon, I'm not sure whether it doesn't exist entirely. I can't say that with certainty. In Italian, the C-I-O-N changes to Z-I-O-N-E, but there are exceptions to this group. Again, some examples. Nation, nazione. Tradition, tradizione. So in Italian, not only are we changing to Z-I-O-N from C-I-O-N, but we're also adding the letter E. Action, azione. Elevación, elevazione. Educación, educazione. Evolución, evoluzione. Nouns which in English end in ity, usually in Spanish are translated by changing the ity ending to idad, but in Italian the idad becomes it accentuated a. And again, consonant T may change to double T, U may change to O in Italian. Electricidad, electricità. Comunidad, comunità. Maternidad, maternità. Unidad, unità. Universidad, università. Libertad, that's liberty, libertà. And just three more. Nouns which in English end in ence or ance. In Spanish, the ce ending mutates to cia, but in Italian, because of the th sound, or more specifically the sound of fi, ci, the mutation to Italian is a z, as was the case with the words which in English end in tion, which in Spanish change to cion, in Italian then become zione. Negligence, negligencia, negligenza. Importance, importancia, importanza. And I thought I had more than two examples there, but I only realised that I'd written only two examples down rather than three or four. But you can see, as I've just said, that the CE from English becomes CIA in Spanish and then mutates further to ZA in Italian. So I'll leave it there. As I said, there are many more cognate groups which I could have gone on to discuss, but that just gives you an indication of the similarities between those Romance languages of Spanish and Italian, and hopefully anybody who has learned either Spanish or Italian and then is going on to study one of the other languages will find it easy to relate to the similarities between the words and increase his or her vocabulary at a much more speedy rate.